Welcome. If you are tuning in right now, expecting a celebration of the sublime, or perhaps a comforting, warm bath discussion about how art enriches the human soul, I am going to give you a very specific piece of advice. Turn this off immediately.
That is a harsh opening.
It's a necessary warning.
Oh.
Because we are not here to pat the back of the creative industry today. We're not here to discuss aesthetics or beauty or the value of culture in a way that makes donors feel good about themselves. We are here to perform an autopsy.
An autopsy.
Yes. I'm Socrates, and I have spent the last week wading through what I can only describe as a landfill of intellectual debris. We have a stack of essays here, dense, impenetrable texts on Gilles Deleuze, the mechanics of contemporary art scenes in London, and the physics of traps. And frankly, looking at this pile on my desk, I see noise, I see art scenes as big as the Ritz, I see traps that are designed to catch absolutely nothing, and I see jokes that nobody, and I mean nobody, seems to be laughing at.
Debris. That is a dangerous word to use. It implies waste. It implies something that has been discarded because it no longer functions. But I would ask you, and the listener, what if the function isn't broken? What if the debris is actually evidence of a collision?
A collision with what? Common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I read about artists dressing up as zombies to play golf with a prosthetic eyeball, which is a real example we have to discuss later, God help us, I don't see a collision with reality. I see a desperate cry for attention wrapped in high-grade academic jargon. We're calling this deep dive doctorates of the absurd, the glitch in the art machine.
Mm.
My role here is to represent the skeptic, the person who looks at this and sees a scam. I want to know if this is philosophy or if this is just, and I'm being generous here, academic hallucination.
It is hallucination, but not in the way you think. I am Frederick Litch, and I am here to tell you that what you call debris is actually the wreckage of traditional logic. We are not looking at art today. We are looking at a breakdown. We are looking at the glitch.
You keep using that word. Define it. Because to me, and probably to the listener, a glitch is when my computer freezes or the audio skips. It's an annoyance. It is an error to be patched.
That is the consumer definition, but philosophically. A glitch is where the system stutters. It is where the seamless, high-definition image of reality tears open and reveals the code underneath. Think of a video game. You are walking down a hallway that looks perfectly real, the lighting is perfect, the textures are realistic, then suddenly your character walks through a wall. For a split second, you see the void. You see that the wall was never solid, it was just a line of code. That moment is the glitch.
Right.
The source material we have today, chapters on David Burrows, Robert Garnett, Simon O'Sullivan, and Edgar Schmitz, they aren't writing about paintings on a wall. They're writing about that moment the character walks through the wall. They're writing about power dynamics, about traps, and about the terrifying nature of the outside.
The outside. You say that with a distinct capitalization. I can hear the capital O.
Always. Because the inside is the safe, logical world you and the listener think you live in. The world of cause and effect. The world where A leads to B. Where you go to work to get paid. Where traps catch animals. Where jokes have punchlines. The outside is the chaos that surrounds that bubble. The outside is the raw data of the universe before we organize it into a polite story. And this art, it isn't decoration. It is a hole in the wall.
A hole in the wall. Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. Our mission today is to deconstruct this so-called logic of the scene and this abstract machine. We are treating these texts not as art criticism, but as evidence. Evidence of a reality that is apparently fraying at the edges. So let's start with the most tangible piece of evidence we have, the trap.
The trap, yes, this is the foundation.
This comes from the work of Edgar Schmitz, discussing the artist Andreas Sliminski. Now, Sliminski builds traps. I don't mean metaphorical traps. I mean actual physical devices.
Yeah.
Metal, springs, bait, triggers. But, and here is the absurdity, he puts them in pristine white art galleries.
Correct. Fox trap, bird station, leopard trap.
Here's my first question, and I want a straight answer. Why call it a trap if it is placed in a gallery where no animal enters? It catches nothing. It functions mechanically, the spring works, the door closes, but it has no utility. Is this not the very definition of futility? It's like a toaster that toasts nothing. It is a prop.
You are looking at the trap as a tool for killing. That is a fundamental mistake. You're thinking like a butcher or perhaps an exterminator. You are thinking about the result. Schmitz argues, and I agree, that the trap is not about the kill. The kill is boring. The kill is the end of the story. The trap is about the process leading up to it. It is an assemblage of intimacy.
Intimacy. You're using a word usually reserved for lovers to describe a steel jaw snapping shut on a leg. Explain that leap before I lose my patience.
Think about the mechanism. To catch a fox, you cannot just dig a generic hole. If you dig a hole, the fox will laugh at you. The fox is smart. It knows the terrain. To catch a fox, you have to understand the fox. You have to know how it moves, what it smells, what it desires, what it fears. You have to know the fox better than it knows itself.
Okay, so you need to be a good hunter. I get that. But how is that intimate?
Because Sliminski's fox trap isn't a copy of a fox's den. It is a diagram of the fox's preferences.
A diagram. So it's a map, like a blueprint.
No, not a visual map, a functional map, a map of desire. It optimizes the conditions of the den. It creates a space that feels more like the fox's home than the fox's actual home. It smells better. It feels safer. It offers food. It is a nature which must be constructed.
So it's a lie. A very convincing lie.
It's more than a lie. To build a successful trap, the hunter must possess the deepest sympathy with the prey. You must become the animal to catch it. You must simulate its desires. It is a symbiosis, a forced joint duration where the hunter and the prey are locked in a dance even before the prey arrives.
That's a disturbing use of the word sympathy. Usually sympathy implies, I care about your well-being. I have sympathy for your loss. Here, sympathy is used to break your neck. It's weaponized empathy.
That is the horror of it, and that is the glitch in our moral coding. We assume connection means kindness. We assume understanding leads to empathy. This source material proves that connection can be purely predatory. It is a relationship defined by capture and theft.
Capture and theft.
The trap steals the animal's own instincts, its hunger, its need for shelter, and turns them against it. The trap says, I know you want safety. Here is safety. And because the trap knows that, it wins.
Okay, let's pause and apply this to the listener. Because they aren't foxes. They are people driving cars or sitting on trains. Why should they care about the sympathy of a hunter?
Look at your phone. Look at the algorithm that feeds you news. That algorithm has sympathy for now. It knows what you like. It knows what makes you angry. It knows what keeps you scrolling at 2 a.m. It has become you. It optimizes your environment to keep you in the den. That is the Sliminski trap. It's not about the kill. It's about the capture. It's about keeping you in the loop.
That is actually a terrifying parallel.
Yeah.
So Sliminski puts these in the gallery to show us the mechanism of our own capture.
He puts them there to expose the diagram. When you stand in the gallery looking at the leopard trap, there is no leopard. So who is the subject of the machine?
I am, the viewer.
You are. You are inspecting the mechanism. You are admiring the aesthetic of the thing that is designed to end you.
It's the seduction of the apparatus. We are fascinated by the technology of control. We look at the shiny metal and the springs and think, my, what a clever design, completely ignoring the fact that its sole purpose is to crush bone.
We admire the ingenuity of the cage, and that is the first glitch. The moment you admire the trap, you are already caught in its logic. You have sympathized with the predator.
Let's look at the specific examples Schmitz analyzes because they get weirder and darker. There's the mass mousetrap. Describe this for the listener because it sounds like industrial nightmare fuel.
It is. Imagine a long tube balanced perfectly on a hinge. The mouse enters, lured by the bait. As it moves forward, its weight tips the tube. The mouse slides out and falls into a bucket of water or acid. The weight is removed and the tube swings back. Reset. Ready for the next mouse.
Endless repetition. No reset required by the human, just a perpetual motion machine of death.
Infinite processing. It is a machine designed to eliminate the multitude. It doesn't care about the individual mouse. It doesn't study the mouse like the foxtrot does. It cares about flow, throughput. It represents the horror of bureaucracy. It is the Fordist factory line applied to death.
It's efficient.
It is too efficient. It renders the death meaningless. It is just a statistic falling into a bucket. But then, contrast that with the snowgrass trap. This one actually made you laugh when you read it, didn't it?
It did. It's a sledge, a trap on skis. It looks like a prop from a Wile E. Coyote cartoon.
It creates an absurdity. A trap usually requires being grounded. It digs into the earth. It relies on the stability of the ground. It hides in the inside. But Sliminski puts the trap on runners. It skids sideways across the surface. It is ungrounded.
So what is the point of a sliding trap? A trap that moves?
It creates a lateral topology.
Explain that term. Lateral topology.
Vertical topology is digging down. It is depth. It is hierarchy. Lateral topology is surface. It suggests that the danger isn't hidden deep underground. The danger is sliding right alongside you on the surface. It suggests that the trap is mobile. It can follow you. It tracks you.
That is profoundly paranoid. It changes the geometry of fear. It's not watch your step, it's watch your back.
And that is the world we live in. We live in a lateral topology. The threat isn't a hidden pit anymore. It's the data packet sliding alongside you on the fiber optic cable. It's the drone hovering at eye level. Slaminsky's telling us, stop looking down for the hole, look sideways for the sledge. The trap is no longer fixed in place, it is hunting you.
Okay, let's unpack the metaphysics here before we move on. If the trap in the gallery captures nothing, does it cease to be a trap? Or does it become a trap for us?
Now you are asking the right question. If the function of the trap is to capture, and it captures your attention, your gaze, your intellect, has it not functioned? We are the catch. The listener right now wondering about the trap. They are in the trap. The concept has seized them.
This leads us perfectly into the next section. Because if the trap is a mechanism for capturing a physical body or a mental state, we need to talk about the mechanism for capturing a social body. We need to talk about the scene.
The scene as a battlefield.
This is based on the essay by David Burrows. Now, in my world, and likely the listener's world, a scene is a networking party. It's an art opening. It's bad wine, awkward conversation, people looking over your shoulder to see if someone more important has walked in. It's social climbing. But Burrows seems to think a scene is something metaphysical. He calls it anonymous enunciation. What is that?
He is stripping away the social veneer. A scene is not about individuals. It is not about you or me or the artist. A scene is a murmur. It is a distribution of events.
A distribution of events. Stop speaking French philosophy for a second and explain that to the listener who is currently stuck in traffic. What does that mean?
Think of a swarm of bees. You don't look at one bee and say, that is the scene. The scene is the hum, the movement, the collective intelligence that exceeds the individual parts. Burrows argues that a true art scene functions like a Mobius strip. It is a loop that has no beginning and no end. It is an eternal return. You are inside the loop, generating the buzz, but you are not in control of it.
Okay, let's ground this. Burrows gives us examples of London scenes that fit this glitch definition. He talks about the legendary Lee Bowery.
A catastrophe of the human form.
Describe him for us, because this isn't just a guy in a suit.
No. Lee Bowery was a performance artist, a club promoter, a living object in the 80s and 90s London scene. Burrows describes a specific look. A headless, brown-skirted form with a beach ball swelling for a midriff.
He looked like a pregnant deformity. He would mask his face completely. Polka dots, gaffer tape, anything to erase it.
He looked like a body without hierarchies. In our daily life, the face is the most important part of the body. It is where identity lives. It is where you are. Bowery deleted the face. He emphasized the belly. He distorted the silhouette. He became a biological glitch. Burrows argues this was necessary to escape the cliché of being human.
To escape the cliché of being human, that's a heavy phrase. You think being human is a cliché.
In the eyes of the machine, yes. We are standardized products. We have 2 arms, 2 legs, a face, a social security number. We behaved predictably. Bowery deformed himself to become singular, to become something the system couldn't recognize. If the system looks for a face to identify and you have no face, you are invisible to the machine, even while being hyper-visible to the people in the club.
It's a form of camouflage through spectacle.
A perfect way to put it.
But Burrows also talks about groups that seem to operate on pure paranoia, specifically the group Bughouse.
The Friends of Good Chance.
These guys.
Yeah.
They believe that Tom Cruise, yes, the actor Tom Cruise, was sending secret messages through his performance in the movie Magnolia.
It sounds insane, doesn't it?
It sounds like they need medication. It sounds like schizophrenia. This isn't philosophy, it's a symptom.
Or perhaps they were practicing a form of constructive paranoia. Burrows mentions the cut-up technique. They were cutting up time to escape everyday banality. They argue that when Tom Cruise says the word realities plural instead of reality singular, he is signaling that he has access to other dimensions.
And he's trying to ensnare us through his acting.
Precisely. Now you can laugh, but think about the logic. If you accept that the world is a constructed trap like Slaminsky suggests, then finding secret codes in a Hollywood blockbuster is actually a rational response. It is an attempt to find the exit.
So you're saying believing Tom Cruise as an interdimensional messenger is a valid philosophical stance?
I am saying it is a productive mapping of a reality that makes no sense. If the official story of reality is a lie, then the truth must be hidden in the noise. It must be in the throwaway lines of a movie star. It is the only place left to look. It's a kind of spiritual survivalism.
I think I prefer the other group he mentions. The Children of Wow.
The performance swarm.
It's just the name.
Wow.
Punctuation marks included. It's unpronounceable. It's a sound effect.
It is a linguistic glitch. It means nothing and everything. Burrows describes their events not as parties, but as mutant statements. A nudist chased by cops, a human traffic light, a glam lock god dying by glitter.
It sounds like chaos. It sounds like a riot with better costumes. Where's the statement in that? It just sounds like a mess.
It is chaos. But Burroughs argues that chaos is the only way to produce new orientations. If society is a rigid grid, you need a swarm to disrupt it. You need a performance swarm to break the lines of control. A swarm has no leader. You cannot cut the head off a swarm. That is its power.
And then there's Bank, the group called Bank. They held an exhibition called Zombie Golf.
The ultimate rejection of the professional artist.
They made wax figures of themselves as zombies, playing golf with an eyeball.
It is grotesque. It is stupid. And that is the point. They are saying, you want professional art. You want the artist as a genius. Here we are. We are the undead playing a leisure sport with an organ of perception. It is the system laughing at itself.
Why zombies, though? Why not clowns? Or werewolves?
Because the zombie is the ultimate consumer. The zombie has no mind, only hunger. The zombie is the perfect citizen of late capitalism. By depicting themselves as zombies, the artists are admitting defeat. They're saying, we are not special. We are just eating brains like everyone else. But by playing golf, the ultimate bourgeois sport, with an eyeball, the symbol of artistic vision, they are creating a blasphemy. They are using the tool of art, the eye, as a ball to be hit into a hole.
It's nihilism. It's just saying everything is pointless.
It is active nihilism. It clears the board. It forces a reset.
This brings us to the friction for me. I look at zombie golf and I see irony. I see hipsters trying to be cool by acting like they don't care. Look at us, we're zombies, art is dead, haha. But Burroughs, and our next source, Robert Garnett, seem to think there is a massive philosophical canyon between irony and humor.
A massive difference. This is the crux of the argument. If you confuse the two, you miss the glitch entirely.
So, Section 3. Humor as a weapon. The traitor versus the trickster. Garnett argues that irony is actually cowardly. That's a strong claim.
Irony is the view from above. It is the Oedipal position. The ironist sits on a mountain, looks down at the world, and mocks it. Oh, look how silly these people are with their consumer goods. Irony preserves the status quo because it keeps you safe. You are detached. You are the smart observer.
Irony is a shield. It protects the ego. You're never wrong if you're just pointing out how everything else is wrong.
Exactly. But humor descends. Humor is treachery. Humor gets down in the mud. Humor doesn't judge the system from the outside. It breaks the system from the inside by slipping on the banana peel along with everyone else.
Garnett uses a very specific, very awkward incident to illustrate this. The Haim-Steinbach incident. Set the scene for us.
Picture this, Haim-Steinbach, a very serious, very cool postmodern artist. He makes art that is incredibly precise, shelves with store-bought commodities on them, a box of cornflakes next to a vase. It's all about the simulacrum and commodity fetishism. It is art that demands you stroke your chin and nod intelligently. It is very clean.
So he's giving a talk to students. He is the authority,
Yeah.
the master.
Yes. Master dispensing wisdom. And during the Q&A, a student gets up, walks over to the artwork, which is right there, and moves one of the objects, just tilts it, or puts it upside down.
The audacity.
And the room freezes, the air leaves the room. Steinbach is furious. He doesn't laugh, he doesn't engage. He says the work is misinstalled. He says it no longer represents his intentions. He acts like a schoolmaster whose tie has been cut.
Now, I'd play devil's advocate and say the student was just being a jerk. You don't touch the art. That's rule number 1 of the gallery. It's just vandalism, isn't it?
You are missing the event. The student wasn't being a jerk. The student was acting as a traitor. By physically interacting with the art, by messing it up, the student turns the master's serious lecture into a joke. He revealed that the meaning of the art was held together by a very thin thread of social politeness.
He broke the spell.
He introduced nonsense. He descended to the surface. That is true humor. It is risky. The student risked expulsion. The student risked humiliation. Irony risks nothing. Irony would have been the student sitting in the back whispering to his friend, "This art is stupid." That changes nothing. Moving the object, that changes the reality of the room. It exposed that the king, Steinbach, had no clothes, or at least that his clothes could be rearranged.
Okay, I see the distinction. One is observation, the other is intervention. Garnett also talks about Martin Kippenberger, specifically a piece called Disco Bomb.
A disco ball with a wig on it.
I mean, come on, a disco ball with a synthetic orange wig. Where's the meaning? What am I supposed to get?
Witz ist ein Blitz. Wit is a flash. That is what Kippenberger used to say. There is no deep meaning to excavate. The meaning is the speed. The meaning is the collision of two things that don't belong together. A disco ball, party, reflection, surface, and a wig, costume, disguise, hair. It creates a running joke. It generates energy. It's a jolt.
It feels like a sugar rush or a slap in the face. It's not a narrative joke with a punchline.
It is an abstract humor. It doesn't tell a story. It hits you with a sensation. It connects to the body without hierarchies we talked about earlier. It is raw affect. It bypasses the brain and hits the nervous system.
And then there's Damien Hirst.
Yeah.
Before he put sharks in tanks, he made spin paintings. Garnett focuses on the title of one painting. Gorgeous, beautiful, kiss my fucking ass painting.
Poetry.
It's aggression. It's vulgarity. It's a teenager screaming at his parents. It feels childish.
It is brazen affirmation. Garnett argues that this title stops the critics dead in their tracks. How do you critique a painting that tells you to kiss its ass? You can't, using traditional academic language. It short-circuits the conversation.
It stops the good conversation of the art world. It refuses to play the game.
Exactly. Irony is a conversation. Humor is a shout. It is a block of sensation. It refuses to be polite. It refuses to play the game of interpretation.
Garnett dives into Freud here to explain the mechanics of this, the concept of the third listener. I found this part particularly interesting.
This is fascinating. Freud argues that a joke requires three people: the teller, the listener, and the object of the joke. But the joke itself functions as a pact.
A pact.
When I tell you a joke and you laugh, we have formed a collective machine. For a split second, our egos disintegrate. We are united in the explosion of laughter. The third listener, the figure of authority, the father, the law, the Steinbeck, is excluded.
So the joke is a conspiracy, a small, temporary rebellion.
The joke is a collective machine that breaks down social order. Irony reinforces social order because it relies on shared codes of superiority. We are smart, they are dumb. Humor says we are all falling apart together.
So if we look back at the traps, the snow grouse trap sliding across the floor, is that a joke? Is that what it is?
It is a trap that functions as a joke, and it is a joke that functions as a trap. They are both mechanisms of the glitch. They both reveal that the ground we stand on is slippery.
Which brings us to the deepest part of the debris pile, the metaphysical layer. We've talked about physical traps, social scenes, and the weaponization of humor. But now we have to ask the question that Simon O'Sullivan asks in Section 4. What is the function of this art if not to be sold? What is the abstract machine?
This is where we leave the human behind entirely. This is where we enter the realm of pure production.
O'Sullivan talks about mythopoiesis.
A beautiful word. Fictioning reality.
Explain, because that sounds like lying or just, making stuff up.
We assume that art represents the world. A painting of a horse represents a horse. A photo of a war represents a war. O'Sullivan argues that this contemporary art, this glitch art, does not represent the world. It invents a new one. It creates a myth that becomes real.
How does a myth become real? That sounds like magical thinking.
Think about money. A dollar bill is a piece of paper. It has no inherent value. But we have all agreed to believe in the myth of its value, and because we believe, the myth functions. It becomes real, it builds empires and starts wars. This art is attempting something similar, but on a psychic level.
He points to the artist Kathy Wilkes.
Yes, her works are difficult. He describes beautiful human body and 14 moon. These are assemblages. Rotten wood, old mannequins, strange debris, nurses' uniforms.
O'Sullivan admits that these objects stymie interpretation. That's a polite way of saying they make no sense. You stand in front of them and you feel blank, annoyed even.
They create a vacuole of non-communication.
A vacuole, a bubble of nothingness. Why would anyone want that?
Think about our world. Everything communicates. Your phone pings, the TV shouts, advertisements beg. We are drowning in communication. We are drowning in meaning. Kathy Wilkes creates an object that refuses to speak. It sits there. It is silent. It slows time down.
So the function of the art is to act as a break, to be an island of silence in a sea of noise.
A break on the capitalist machine. It creates a gap, and in that gap, something else can grow. It allows you to step out of the inside and catch a glimpse of the outside. It's a space for contemplation, not consumption.
O'Sullivan talks about this as a minor practice.
Minor not meaning small or insignificant. Minor meaning subversive, like a minor key in music. It feels different. It stutters and stammers the major language. If the major language is buy this, be productive, be normal, the minor language is the stutter. It is the wow, wow. It is the trap that catches nothing. It is the silence of the mannequin.
And he calls these artists trader prophets.
Yes.
That's a paradox. A prophet leads the people. A traitor betrays them. How can you be both?
They are traitors to the current reality. They betray the now. They betray the expectations of the market, of good taste, of meaning. But they are prophets for a people yet to come.
A people yet to come. Who are these people? Aliens. Posthumans.
They are us, but mutated. O'Sullivan argues that this art isn't made for you and me as we are today. We are too rigid. We are too inside. It is made to trigger a mutation in our subjectivity. It is schizoanalysis.
Schizoanalysis, breaking our habits to allow us to become something else.
We are blocks of affect. We are frozen habits. We wake up, we drink coffee, we work, we sleep, the same patterns day after day. This art, the trap, the zombie golf, the silent assemblage, it is designed to crack the block, to melt the habit, to allow a new form of human to emerge. A human that can navigate the glitch.
You're making it sound like an evolutionary trigger, like the monolith in 2001, A Space Odyssey.
It is, but not biological evolution,
Yeah.
psychic evolution. The abstract machine is the diagram of this evolution. It is the wiring of the future.
Okay, let's pause. We've been deep in the theory. We've been swimming in the debris. I want to pull back to the surface. We have traps that don't catch, jokes that don't end, scenes that are paranoid battlefields, and silent trash heaps that are supposedly rewriting our DNA. Is this a shortcut to knowledge? Or is this just a descent into madness?
It is a descent, but not into madness, into the real.
The real, with a capital R again.
The real is what is left when you strip away the polite fictions of society. It's the code under the graphics, the void behind the wall.
So let's try to summarize this high-stakes conclusion. Section 5, the future of humanity. You said earlier that the outside is terrifying.
It is. It is the abyss.
Why? What's so scary about it?
Because the future is not progress. We are taught that the future means better iPhones and longer lives, a cleaner, more efficient inside. But these sources suggest that the future is a trap we set for ourselves.
We are the prey in Slaminsky's loop.
Precisely. Look at the mass mousetrap again. We are the mice. We enter the tube because we want the bait, comfort, security, entertainment, the next dopamine hit, the tube tips. We fall into the bucket. The tube resets. We think we are moving forward, but we are just being processed.
And the only escape
is the glitch. The only escape is through humor of the surface, sliding sideways like the snow grouse trap, like Alice in Wonderland. If you dig deep for meaning, you find the bottom of the bucket. You find despair. If you slide sideways, you might find a hole in the wall. You might find the vacuole.
You're saying we need to become zombies playing golf with an eyeball.
Metaphorically, yes. We need to stop taking the game seriously. We need to play with the organs of perception instead of using them to file tax returns. We need to stop trying to be professionals and start being traitors to the system of seriousness.
That's a bleak prescription. Become a zombie to save your soul.
It is not bleak. It is liberating. The abstract machine is rewriting us anyway. The algorithms, the economy, the media, they are rewriting our subjectivity every day. They are turning us into consumers. These artists, these doctorates of the absurd, they are just trying to hand us the pen so we can scribble on the page.
Scribble or stutter.
Or scream or laugh. Anything other than signing the contract.
So, to bring this back to our listener, the learner, the person prepping for a meeting or just insane with curiosity, why do they need to know this? Why spend an hour thinking about fox traps and disco balls with wigs? Why not just read a business book?
Because the system is glitching. Look around you. Politics is absurd. The economy's a casino. The climate is breaking. Traditional logic, the logic of the inside, is failing to explain the world. The business books don't work anymore because the rules they describe are dissolving.
So we are all living in the glitch. We are all walking through the wall.
We are. And understanding these doctorates of the absurd is the only way to recognize the trap before it snaps shut. If you understand how the trap works, how it uses your own sympathy and desire against you, you might, just might, be able to slide out of it.
You might be able to be the fox that doesn't enter the tube.
Or the fox that enters the tube and eats the bait without tripping the hinge. The trickster.
Yeah.
The traitor, the one who moves the object on the shelf.
The traitor to the trap.
Snack.
Well, listener, I hope you're still with us. We've gone from metal springs to interdimensional Tom Cruise to the rewiring of the human soul. It's been heavy. It's been a lot of debris.
It's been necessary. We have cleared the blockage.
I want to leave you with a final provocation, something to ruin your sleep tonight. Based on everything we've discussed, Slaminsky's traps, Burroughs' paranoia, O'Sullivan's silent fiction, ask yourself this.
Yes. Ask it.
If you are the prey and reality is the trap, are you waiting for the bait? Or are you already inside the sympathetic duration of the capture?
Are you living in the den or the copy of the den?
Think about it, and don't expect an answer.
The answer is the trap.
This has been the deep dive and transmission.